Anybody else? Mr. Carr?
Well, I did pass out, okay, I did pass out an email. Mrs. Walter, at the end of the last meeting, was fairly critical of the fact that she thought the Board of Finance should be taking the lead on the gap in funding. As of July 20th, the first selectman had received an opinion from town council that it was really the Board of Selectmen's position to take the lead on that.
Can I correct you on that? This is strictly up for interpretation. That is your interpretation. You have highlighted that likely get to the Board of Selectmen. I think the jury is still out on this. So instead of flogging this dead horse one more time, let's just move on to something else.
Mr. Farmer, this is unfortunate. I have the floor. I'm being interrupted. This has happened before.
Sorry, excuse me.
This has happened
My
before.
apologies.
Thank you.
Continue.
Thank you. So, I mean, I think that, yes, subject to interpretation, but I think the interpretation that the town council is leaning to is that we do need some leadership. And I don't think we can wait for an election to get it. And I'm hoping at some point we will get some people together, probably from the Board of Finance, probably from the Board of Education, to discuss a very serious $3.3 million gap in funding. And I'm not doing this for political purposes. I'm doing it because the town has got to address this, and the sooner that we address it, the better. On another topic, you had sent to the Board of Finance the sale of a piece of property, which I had asked to have identified for reasons that I don't think seem to make much sense, that the people buying were private people, we're all private people. I think that when you have an executive session and someone asks you what the property is, that under the Freedom of Information Act, we have a right to know at that point. When it did come before the Board of Finance, it appeared, and I don't know whether this is accurate or not, but it appeared that there had been no written offer and no deposit, and we certainly didn't have a contract, and so it was tabled. We have, Mrs. Walter has her real estate license. Certainly Mrs. Pender as an attorney would know these laws, and it just seemed like an amateur hour the other night at the Board of Finance when this came up. Anyway, just thought those were comments worth making. Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments? All right.
I'd just like to comment on the Board of Finance meeting, a couple of things, and listen. First of all, the sale of property. The issues that were brought up regarding contracts, bids, etc. That's outside the Board of Finance's purview. Typically, when we sell property, we don't even have to go to the Board of Finance. We've never have before. It goes to the zoning board and it goes to a town meeting. That's it. So it really doesn't have to go to the Board of Finance. Secondly, on the truck. The only reason the truck was there that night was not to decide whether it goes out to bid or not. That's our job. That's policy. Board of Finance doesn't say policy. We do. It was about whether it was going to be leased, purchased, or not. That was the end of it. That was the discussion that was supposed to happen. It's unfortunate, and well, I understand, but it's unfortunate it got into that discussion. The members of the Board of Finance don't know what their role is, and I was there the other night. It was an embarrassing meeting the way the whole meeting went down, and hopefully it gets better, because it can't get much worse than what I saw the other night. That's it.
I wanted to congratulate you guys as well. We just went through a petition process.
We had
and it was hard to
a lot,
So,
didn't we, with it?
I give it all to you. And I just want to second on the offer situation and the contract situation. This was, until there's an approval to purchase the property for the amount, I don't believe that an offer or contract is necessary. And secondly, I'll just second what Willie said, it's not necessary for it to go to the Board of Finance, so I kind of felt the same way about the meeting. But other than that, I don't really have anything else.
But like Pete with the truck, he shouldn't have said, basically, I understand his position, I sympathize with Pete
You should have clearly
tremendously.
said what he was there for.
And, no, I just think he's caught a lot of in my opinion,
Yeah.
unnecessary crap. And, you know, I just said, hey, whatever you guys want to do, you know, I'm not telling you what to do, but I think it's, personally, you know, I talked to the chairman of the DPW, which is Mike Ketzer, and he looked over it in detail. And Mike and Pete don't, you know, always see eye to eye, and Mike thought this was the best deal for the town, and thought it was a good truck and a good price for, and it was what we wanted, and we were gonna, you know, get rid of 2 trucks. I think it's a shame that now it's delayed, and I think we could have got the vehicle for this winter, now we won't. Now, maybe, you know, and maybe it will be a good thing, we'll come back and these guys all sharpen their pencils because they get a shot at it.
But my
you
point
know.
is not the Board of Finance's purview.
No, I agree with what you said.
To decide.
I'm just saying the whole thing, obviously, I'm sure you've got emails and texts and stuff about it.
No, I mean-
And personal calls and from
No emails.
dealers and stuff like that. And I just, you know, I hope they do sharpen their pencils, maybe even Freightliner does, you know, because now they, you know, so
The
maybe.
problem is that their state bid price is always lower than.
Yeah, but it might not be
this.
on some of the features, because the state might not
Right.
want the same exact truck. So I,
That's true.
fortunately, I've had to listen and do a lot of research on this in the last couple of weeks, and trying to find out, and, you know, I don't think it's a bad thing price-wise, but if it comes back and it's the same and we lost the season, I'd be disappointed, that's all. Hopefully it comes back better. That's it.
I also would like to say congratulations, but I'd also like to say I'm sorry you had to go through all that. I honestly think, and no offense you guys, but if it'd just been a couple more votes, you wouldn't have to go through all that. We could have spent this time educating people on what role the town manager means to the town.
Hopefully they did it when they were getting the signatures.
Yeah, well,
Hopefully other
it
people
just,
understood what
the
they were
time could have
signing
been
for.
used more productively, is what I'm getting to. But
That was
anyway,
our concern.
all right, well, your turn was 3 people ago.
It's okay.
But anywho, also, as a result of the Board of Finance meeting last night, we're not clear on the status, well, no, the Rock Ledge Water Main project is still in the works. Board Pollution Commission is going to go forward with their program, the same as if they had received approval for the resolution to go forward the other night. We're having the information meeting on September 14th. There is information going out particularly to that area of those 122 homes, alerting them to this information night. Everything is going to proceed normally until that final, until the Board of Finance does meet to discuss this topic again. We're not gonna drop it and presume it's gone away at this point. We're gonna just hope for the best. Also at the Board of Pollution meeting last night, they asked me to express to the Board of Selectmen that they would like to meet with the Board of Pollution would like to meet with the Board of Selectmen and with the Board of Finance to have a discussion as to the funding of this project going forward, because it just seems like there was more background to the conversation that should have taken place before the decision was made by the Board of Selectmen as to how to finance it and what those ramifications would mean to the Board of Finance. So 2 things, they're going to continue to work on the project, and second, they would like to have a joint meeting with the 2 commissions. So that's it.
Okay. I just have a couple of things. One of the things that came out of the Board of Finance meeting last night was a statement made about an individual on the Board of Finance was not happy that the sale of the Glenwood property is not going out to bid. We don't have to have the property go out to bid. It's not required. So that was the path that we took. And I felt very bad for the spouse of a couple that was interested in the purchase. She left that meeting last night extremely upset. And so I took the time last night to call that couple and basically apologize to them for the way the whole thing was handled. I felt very bad for them. And I said we will do our utmost to rectify the situation. I also want to respond to Mr. Carr and make it clear that the town attorney advised us, the Board of Selectmen, that we are not required to specify when we go into executive session exactly what properties we are speaking about. And again, tonight, we are going into an executive session to discuss purchase and sale negotiations. And we do not intend to tell you what those negotiations are about, nor are we required to. With respect to Mr. Carr's continued comments about the inaction of the Board of Selectmen and the fact that I have received a communique in the form of an email from John Bennett, town attorney. When was that? July 20th. When I got that communique, I realized, having spent a lot of time getting a lot of legal opinions on the local level, the regional level, and on state level, relative to the entire budgetary process, in the event that we have to take additional actions as a result of, the possibility of getting hit further by the governor. I felt, rather than to release that communique, that I should continue to get, as did our tax collector and others, and other directors of finance, to get further legal interpretations on a local and state basis and from other towns and cities before we could proceed. And that process is still going on, Mr. Carr. There are a lot of legal opinions all over the place. And that is why I did not release that information. We believe Mr. Bennett is on the right track, okay? We still have more investigation to do. So don't criticize me without understanding the situation, please. Today, I want everybody to know, we worked very hard with the Lower Connecticut River Valley COG to put out a joint communique to Secretary Barnes on behalf of the small towns, furthering our displeasure and our dismay with the governor's budget and recommending to all legislators on both sides of the fence, both in the House and the Senate, to do the right thing for us instead of blasting us with this massive hit that will ruin a lot of towns financially. It's totally ridiculous. We've been told by a number of the legislators that they are not going to support the governor's plan, as I mentioned last night at the Board of Finance. But if anybody wants to see the letter, I can furnish copies to people who are interested. It's a real blast to Mr. Barnes and a wake-up call. That's all I have. Now I'd like a motion to go into executive session.
Motion to go into executive session. Like the Selectman and Mary saying.
And Mary, yes, we need to keep us in line. Thank you very much, everybody. Coming here.